My vagina legit sealed itself. Like, first of all, I am obsessed with you. Second of all, the you're all cleared at 6 weeks is like one of the greatest cons of modern medicine. Cleared for what? Hey, everybody. This is your brand new episode of Tell Me I'm a Good Mom. And today's a solo episode. And on today's episode, I'm answering your questions. That's the entire episode. I asked you guys to send me your medical care gap questions. And I want to say I was shocked by what I received, but I was not actually shocked by what I received. What I will say before we get into this episode is that we are all experiencing the same thing. And when I asked for these questions, like about your doctors and your bodies and the stuff that nobody warned you about, like I got hundreds of responses. I read all of them. Some made me LOL and some made me like put my phone down and really like sit quietly with them. And I'm answering both on today's episode. But here's what I really noticed. Almost none of them were really questions. They were evidence. And the same thing over and over again in many different writing styles. Women who are not listened to, women who got handed a prescription instead of an answer, women who get sent home from the scariest shit of their lives with a shrug and a follow-up in 6 weeks, women who figured out their own bodies from a Reddit thread at 11 p.m. because nobody ever actually explained the science of what's going on in their bodies to them. That is a care gap, and it is not in your head. But I want to be really clear about something. This is not a complaining episode. I am like kind of over the angry, woe is us version of women's health. I've been there for a long time, and it's a challenging place to be. We're comparing notes in this episode, and the purpose of this episode is to try to identify and talk about the care gap in an effort to share better information so that we can all be better advocates for ourselves, because that is just the reality that we live in. Yeah, like I'm going through something weirder and harder right now than I thought it would be. I'm assuming that you are too. And we're going to talk about it today in a group chat because we actually are a group chat. Like I've been doing this over on my social media accounts, and I love answering your guys' questions. I love the back and forth. I love when people have different opinions and they DM me about it. So I hope that you guys slide into my inbox after this episode and let me know what you think. I'm also not going to sit here and pretend that the system is doing its job, because it isn't. Women are made to fight to be heard, believed, diagnosed, and helped. We literally get handed a baby and almost no instructions. I had a C-section and they were like, okay, see ya. We are left piecing our own body literacy together because the research and the education and the care were never really built for us in the first place. I have spent 10 years on the inside of this, building a company because I could not find the products or the answers or the honesty anywhere else. So I have opinions, and today they are going to be yours, because somebody has to take your body seriously when the system will not, and it might as well be each other. So let's get into your questions. Okay, first question on today's episode. This is such a universal question. The question is, how do I get a doctor to listen without being rude? How do I get a doctor to actually listen without being rude? Okay, I actually get asked this question a lot. And I have spoken to our medical advisors at Love Wellness specifically about this, because you have a relationship with your doctor has a relationship with you. And I think both groups are living in these sort of like systems where it feels like we're being pitted against each other to a certain degree. I think doctors are pissed that we keep going on the internet and coming to them with self-diagnoses, but we're pissed that we know that we're experiencing something really challenging, and we go to them over and over and over again about it, and we're not getting the care that we need. And like that is a big problem, right? So let's get into the answer, because I have thought a lot about this, and this includes some of the feedback from our actual medical advisors at Love Wellness on how to get the care that you need at the doctor. The problem is not your tone. It is the clock. They've actually done a study on this. The average doctor interrupts the average patient in about 11 seconds. 11. So you barely get to get your first sentence out. Like, this has been studied and proven. So you don't need to be louder. You need to win the first 30 seconds of the conversation. Lately, and doctors may think that this is annoying, but I actually think it's helpful, and it has actually worked for me in recent doctor's appointments. I have put together a pre-read for my doctor. And in the pre-read, it does not come to conclusions about what is going on. But because it can be challenging to verbally communicate and find the words in the moment for everything that is going on with you, I find that putting together a list of 5 to 10 bullets about what you're experiencing, the symptoms, when it started, how often it's happening, how it makes you feel, can be really helpful to email the doctor ahead of time or bring in on a printed piece of paper and say, hey, I know that we don't have a lot of time and I feel like we have a lot to cover. And so I wrote this down for you to share with you, for you to read quickly so that we can really take advantage of this appointment. And I think that is how you win the first 30 seconds of the appointment, because you really don't have a lot of time, but you need to be heard with clarity and focus. And so providing the doctor with a very simple and straightforward list of what you're experiencing has recently, in my case, been super, super helpful. So try that exact move. You sit down and you say, I want to tell you everything first. I literally wrote it down for you. And then you can ask me my questions, or however you want to phrase it, right? But I think that this approach reorders the entire appointment in your favor. And, frankly, I was shocked with how well it worked for me recently. I did it at the pediatrician. Nell has CMPA. If you guys listen to the show or follow me, you know that. And it's a very, very challenging dairy allergy. And sometimes it flares up, and we've had to change formulas a ton of times. She's on medical formula. And with babies, everything is kind of a mystery. They have all these weird symptoms and they come and go, and it just can be really, really challenging. And we have banged our head against the wall a ton on this at the pediatrician. And they're doing their best, but again, they don't have a lot of time. And so coming into that appointment with my pre-read truly helped move mountains in our last appointment. And we were able to just sit down, get started, and then get into it. The next thing, I want you to learn how to talk like you are speaking to a clinician, not like you're talking to your diary. Don't lead with I am tired or I just feel off. That gets a shrug, in my opinion. I want you to lead with function. I can't lift my kid. I can't get up off the floor while holding my child. I can't get through a workday. I'm waking up 4 times a night, and here's when that started. Tie the symptom to the thing it is stealing from you. That lands in a way more critical fashion with a doctor than just, I'm tired. Because frankly, everybody's fucking tired. I'm sure you're exhausted listening to this episode. We're all tired. The next thing, if you are not feeling well, you need to start writing it down in your own notes app, email, whatever it is. You need to understand and document your patterns. Not because the doctor will take you more seriously, but because the patterns help them understand what's going on in your body. A documented pattern beats I'm tired every single time. And honestly, when you go into the doctor's appointment, I think that reads as you being a patient in partnership, right? Not someone who is spiraling with her AI at 2 a.m. repeatedly. Do you know what I mean? You're documenting a pattern. You're taking this seriously. You're presenting the evidence from your own body to your doctor. And I think they will take you more seriously as a result of that. My next piece of advice, and I actually have taken this piece of advice from the internet. I've seen a lot of TikTok videos about this, and it's kind of my favorite, and it's really good. And I actually would like a doctor to reply to this when they listen to this episode. is my favorite. Totally polite. Can you note in my chart that you're declining to look into this? I want you to say it calmly. I want you to watch the energy shift. Nobody wants that sentence in writing. That's not rude. That's accountability. Now, I think that there are instances where you may be annoying and like maybe the thing that you're asking for is actually unreasonable. And you may get a different response if that's the case. Like, you know, if you're being unreasonable. But if you're not being unreasonable, I think that that one line changes everything. And here's the deeper truth, because it really matters. Women specifically get told to stop asking, at least in my experience and the experience of a lot of people that sent in questions, right? I'm sure you've experienced that. We get taken less seriously in medical settings on average. We wait longer for diagnoses. Our pain gets blamed on anxiety more often than men's does. And about 80% of autoimmune patients are women. A study came out on that also recently. 80% of autoimmune patients are women. And autoimmune is really hard to diagnose. It takes years to get diagnosed when you have autoimmune. So when a woman walks in with a list of questions, this is for the doctors that are listening. That's not an internet problem, okay? That is a response to data. She has learned the hard way that asking is what gets her closer to feeling well. Gosh darn it, she's got to ask over and over and over again. When I started Love Wellness, I went to the doctor for 18 months complaining about my symptoms, depression, anxiety, vaginal health stuff. I'm sure that doctor was really annoyed with me. I'm sure that she was like, ugh, Lauren is back in my office. But guess what? That doctor did not do basic blood work for me for 18 months. And it turns out I just had a very severe vitamin deficiency. So I would encourage you, if you are not feeling well, to keep at it. Because eventually, or for many women, they go silent and then they get really sick. And that is a huge problem. And I will wrap up this question by saying that the right doctor wants you to be informed, okay? She lets you finish your sentence. She says, I'm not sure, let me look into that. She explains her thinking, not just her verdict, right? And the relationship that actually works with your doctor is a partnership. She's got the training, right? You've got the only full set of data on your own body. You need each other, right? You need to keep asking good questions. So ask. Don't be afraid, okay? All right, I need to talk to you guys about Nell's new 5 a.m. wake up habit. I have boasted that she's such a good sleeper. And in general, she is such a good sleeper. But last week, there was a string of days where she was awake and where we ultimately had to get her up and feed her a bottle because she would not go back to sleep otherwise. She's decided that 5 a.m. is breakfast time all of a sudden. So we are in kind of a little bit of a sleep regression over here. Hopefully she just is chunking up. That's my goal, or that's what I'm hoping for. But she keeps waking up hungry before the sun is even up. And I was starting to feel like I had no idea what I was doing. However, we have our Hatch Baby. And I have talked about the Hatch Baby before. Hatch Baby features expert sleep support, including real-time one-on-one sleep consultant chat, milestone sleep guides, and science-backed lights and sounds. And that sleep consultant chat is what saved me last week. I got to talk to a real person about what was going on with her instead of spiraling on the internet at, 5 o'clock in the morning. And just having that support honestly made me feel so much more calm. Every Hatch Baby includes 3 months of this expert sleep support and premium content. So if your baby is fighting naps or up before 5 a.m. like mine right now, you are not doing anything wrong and you do not have to figure it out alone. Hatch is in 1 in 3 nurseries for a reason, and it grows with your kid from the newborn days all the way to the big kid bed. Ready to get real-time sleep support for your baby? Shop Hatch Baby on Amazon this Prime Day or visit hatch.co/baby to learn more. So I'm in the part of my postpartum journey where I'm trying to now sneak movement in all of a sudden. I have recovered to the degree that I can like take long walks. I've started to lift a little bit of weights here and there, and it's feeling really good, to be honest with you. And lately, I have been taking my morning walks with Nell wearing my stacked adjustable weighted vest. I saw all these ladies in my neighborhood wearing them, and I was like, I need to get one of those. And you put it on, and it is truly the easiest way to add a little bit of resistance to what you're doing, just moving your body, taking those steps without adding any time to my day. Stacked is a female-founded brand started by two best friends, Taylor and Millie, and I know them personally, and they are so cool. They're also two first-time moms. They both just had babies, and they figured out during COVID that workout gear could actually be smarter and more versatile. The vest is the perfect example. It's adjustable, so you can start light and zip on more weight as you get stronger. I'm building up slowly, and I love that it like literally grows with me. No pressure, just progress. They also make the stacked mat. You guys have seen these on the internet. They're so cute, but they're also functional. They're twice as thick as a normal yoga mat, and it doubles as a block. And the hand weights flex between 2, 4, and 6 pounds. And it was on one of Oprah's favorite things last year. As a mom, tools like this that fit into my real life instead of asking for an extra hour are truly everything. So if you want to move more with me this season, visit shopstacked.com/goodmom and use code GMOM at checkout for 20% off. That's shopstacked.com/goodmom, code GMOM for 20% off your order. So real talk, I make a lot of videos for work. And lately in these videos, I have been looking at my skin and thinking, oh, wow, pregnancy really has taken its toll on my skin, and postpartum too. I have just not really felt like myself, and I wanted something non-invasive that I could actually do at home to support my skin. And that is when I got the Bond Charge Red Light Face Mask. Bond Charge is a holistic wellness brand built on evidence-based products, so it's grounded in science and inspired by nature. Everything from blue light blocking glasses to red light therapy, all designed to help you sleep better, recover faster, and feel more balanced. And this red light face mask combines red and near infrared light to support your skin, targeting fine lines, uneven tone, and firmness, the exact stuff I have been self-conscious about the last couple of weeks. And the best part for my life right now is how easy it is. You wear it for as little as 10 minutes. You can like relax in it, or you can scroll. You can walk around the house in it. It is lightweight, low EMF, and it slots right into my existing skincare routine. I am only a little ways in, but I already love having 10 quiet minutes that feel like they're just for me, and like I'm doing one thing to feel like myself again. Plus free shipping, 12-month warranty, and it's HSA, FSA eligible. So go to bondcharge.com, use code GOODMOM to save 15%. That's BONCHARGE.com, code GOODMOM to save 15%. This is a really good question, actually. And I have thought about this a lot. Doctors only ever prescribe me something. They never actually fix anything. So I have lived this. I think everybody has lived this. And this question made me really feel things. The story that I just told you about starting Love Wellness, like I was so frustrated in that period of time because I knew that something was wrong. But like, I'm not the fucking doctor. I just had my lived experience. Do you know what I mean? And throughout the prescribing of the medication, I continued to be unwell. And I think not being heard through that for a very long time led me to research and understand different ways that medicine are practiced around the world so that I could have a better understanding of different medical philosophies and different ways of care. But let me be fair first. Sometimes the medicine is the fix, and thank God for that. I am not anti-medicine. Medicine is incredible. That's not what we're talking about. I'm also not anti-doctor. Like, I love my doctors. When they're good doctors, like, that is an incredible relationship. They take your lives into their hands. They don't go through years and years and years of training because they don't care about you. They do care about you. They are being educated in a certain system and practicing what they have learned. But there is a real distinction, right? There's a difference between managing a symptom and finding the cause. And you are allowed to ask which one is happening, right? The question to ask out loud at the doctor is, are we treating the problem or are we quieting the problem, right? There's a difference between treating symptoms and understanding what's causing the symptoms and then fixing that, right? But a good doctor, in my opinion, will not flinch at that question. A great one will actually answer it. And sometimes the answer will absolutely blow your mind and be so interesting and give you a newfound respect for that doctor and all of the time and energy they have put into their doctoring. But let's also get into why this happens so that you don't take it personally. A lot of the time, the Band-Aid, it's not just laziness. Doctors aren't lazy. They have hundreds of patients, thousands of patients. I don't know. It is the 7-minute appointment. The root cause takes the time that the visit does not have, right? No doctor in 7 minutes is going to be able to figure out necessarily the underlying cause of some ongoing chronic symptom that you have. That's a system problem. It's not usually your doctor is a villain problem. So I think we need to be able to recognize that, right? But it goes back to my previous answer earlier in the episode about how to get your doctor to actually listen to you. And I think that pre-read is really important, but I think it's also important to understand that in the United States, it can take multiple doctor's appointments and multiple rounds of tests to get closer to an answer. And then think back to that autoimmune in women stat, right? 80% of autoimmune patients are women. And autoimmune is a confusing bitch. There's oftentimes mysterious vague symptoms that are hard to connect, right? But if you start writing them down and you start documenting it like a data scientist, right? You become your own data scientist. The picture can become clear for your doctor. But I think really it can come down to how your doctor practices medicine, because philosophy of practice is a real thing. So let's get into that a little bit. Some doctors treat Western allopathic medicine as the only legitimate framework. Some are integrationists. They incorporate Eastern medicine, functional medicine, or other modalities into how they think about a patient. Some are fluent in supplements and lifestyle as part of their toolkit, and some are not. And I think you have to ask yourself, is one approach unambiguously better than the other? And it depends on what you are dealing with, in my opinion. Evidence-based medicine has produced extraordinary results for acute care and for many chronic conditions that no other framework matches. Integrative approaches can complement standard care for some chronic conditions and for some quality of life issues. Each lens has its strengths and its blind spots. I go to my normal doctor, I may be disappointed some of the time. I go to my functional medicine doctor, I may be disappointed some of the time. What matters when you are trying to find a doctor is knowing roughly where they live on this spectrum and whether her approach matches how you want to engage with your own care, right? Because some doctors prioritize randomized controlled trials and large meta-analysis above all other forms of evidence. They're cautious about prescribing or recommending anything that hasn't cleared that bar. And that approach is conservative and it's protective, especially when they are treating vulnerable patients or they're making high-stakes decisions. Other doctors, and this is the kind of doctor that I personally prefer, integrate formal evidence base with the patterns that they're seeing in their own practice, right? They notice when a specific protocol works for a specific kind of patient before the literature catches up. They're prescribing medicine off-label, and they're comfortable with that, even if the data is not definitive. This is also a rigorous way to practice medicine. It just uses a wider lens on what counts as evidence. I'll give you an example. When I did an IVF round in 2024, my doctor said to me, hey, just so you know, I've had women come into my practice and they've been taking NAD for the last couple of months before they do a retrieval. And these are women that have like done multiple egg retrievals or multiple rounds of IVF, let's say. And she said, and I have noticed a significant improvement in the outcomes in the women who have been taking NAD versus their previous cycles. And so I started taking NAD. And like, yeah, there's not like a ton of like evidence for NAD in this situation. Like they're not researching us IVF gals, even though they should be. And I took NAD for a couple of months, and the outcome of that IVF round was significantly improved versus previous egg retrievals and then like IVF cycles that used those eggs. And in my case, like my best round was when I was 38 years old. But like the eggs that had been retrieved for me earlier in my life were from 33 and 35 years old. And those eggs like didn't really turn into embryos. So you can't say like it's an age thing. It worked for me. So that's an example of a doctor that is using formal evidence, but also taking things that they are seeing into their practice and combining those two to treat patients. And I think that that is a personally responsible and helpful way to practice medicine. So back to your question. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. Here's how to know which kind of doctor you have. Ask them to explain why this is happening to you. And if nobody can name what's driving it, you didn't get diagnosed, you got a prescription for symptoms. But the follow-up to that, you say, if this doesn't work in a few weeks, what do we look at next? Right? It's up to you to make that next appointment most of the time, unfortunately. Right? I've left the doctor's office many times and they're like, bye-bye. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a follow-up appointment. And then you just keep at it until you figure out what is going on. Let's talk about daddies. Because we talk about moms a lot on our show. Hold on, I need a sip of coffee. Ah, delicious. Okay. The next question. And this question, I was like, oh, I'm answering this question. It's not even a question. It's just a statement, but I agree with it and I want to get into it. One gap is checking on dads. Give them the mental health survey too. It's not 1920. Why am I taking mental health surveys at my pediatrician's appointment for my doctor and not at the OBGYN? Because moms have like a 6-week appointment and then that's it. And they're like, bye, see you in a year. Anyway, sorry, back to the question. This is such a good point. She says we should be screening dads too. Give them the mental health survey. It's not 1920. She is completely right, and the data backs her up hard. And here are the numbers because they are real. Paternal postpartum depression is a real thing. Across big studies, it's about 1 in 10 dads, 8 to 10%. That is actually higher than the baseline depression rate for men. And here's the part that should end every argument about this to validate this on behalf of fathers. When mom has postpartum depression, the dad's risk jumps to somewhere between 24 and 50%. That is significant. They are linked, you guys. Maternal depression is the single biggest predictor of paternal depression. So screening one and ignoring the other is literally leaving half of the house unchecked. And I think if you're tuning into this episode and that resonates with you, it's because it's real. Like, we're checking on moms to a degree, but I really feel strongly that nobody is checking on dads. And it makes me emotional because I have made it part of my mission, even back when I was pregnant, to check in on my husband. Because I have seen this significantly, mostly in my experience being on the internet. All of the content is about moms. And yeah, like we need all of the support, but dads need support too. I don't think People ask dads very often, hey, how are you doing? Like, let's really check in here. And it breaks my heart because my husband is such a true partner in our marriage and in parenting. And the fact that nobody asks these guys that are taught that they have to be so strong and manly and take care of their families and go right back to work without ever fucking asking them how they're doing really crushes me. It's really tough. Here's the absurd part about this. There is still no standard recommendation to screen fathers at all. But meanwhile, screening moms is standard practice, and thank God for that. But like, again, why is it happening in the pediatrician's office? Why are they not asking dad to tap the thing in the pediatrician's office? 2026, mom gets handed the survey and dad gets sent to go park the car and get the fucking stroller out. Like, make that make sense to me. Everybody is each carrying huge pieces of this when it comes to parenting. And yeah, I know that in most families, mom is the primary parent. But even in that situation, it doesn't mean that dad should get dismissed or ignored. This is not an either or, right? Nobody is taking away support from mothers. A well-supported partner is one of the best protections a new mom has, right? Remember that stat. Let me go back to my piece of paper where it says the stat. When mom has postpartum depression, the dad's risks jump to somewhere between 24 and 50%. So yeah, we are not taking away protections from mom. In fact, we should double down on protections from mom. But protecting mom means you're protecting dad. Checking on him is checking on her. And like, dads tend to show it differently too. It's irritability, it's checking out, it's like suddenly working really late. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. So even the rare time someone does ask, the standard questions typically miss it. The reality here, everybody, is that in a family where there is a mom and a dad, two people just became parents, right? Even in a mom-mom family or a dad-dad family or, any form of that. Two people just became parents. We act like one of them is a support beam instead of a person whose life also just got detonated. So if you're a partner watching this and you have felt underwater since the baby came, that counts. That's real. You're not making it up. You are having a true lived experience. So I think we need to be checking on everybody. It really is not 1920. All right, everybody, last question for the episode. And this one is funny. It's, again, you guys, these are not even questions. These are just people sharing their stories. Because we all just have the same story, just a different flavor of the same story. And here it is. I want to talk to you guys about something cute. So cute. Nell and I have matching heart pajamas now from Roller Rabbit, and I cannot handle it. They came in the mail the other day. The little mommy and me moment is everything I dreamed about before she got here. I feel like when you're pregnant with a daughter, you literally think oh my God, I can't wait for the matching outfit day. If you don't know Roller Rabbit, it's globally inspired lifestyle brand known for its very joyful prints and colors. And yes, the sleepwear is totally iconic, but they are so much more than pajamas. We're talking swim, dresses, robes, jewelry, travel accessories, bedding, so many things. It's ready to wear for the whole family, from babies up to grandparents. So many pieces are still made with the same family-owned factories they've worked for over 20 years, which I really love. And the timing could not be better because they just launched their Salt and Stars collection. Festive summer prints, nautical designs, matching family PJs, breezy dresses, swim, all of it. Basically everything you need for beach days and barbecues and slow summer mornings. Visit rollerrabbit.com and take 20% off your purchase of $150 or more with code GOODMOM at checkout. Again, that's ROLLER RABBIT.com with code GOODMOM20 for 20% off your order of $150 or more. Terms and exclusions apply. There's like a tiny thing that makes me unreasonably happy. I take our family to the Union Square Farmers Market many times a week. And I swear, half of the farmers there run their whole stand on Square. So there I am in the middle of New York City in a park, arms full of carrots. I don't have cash. And I just tap my phone and I'm done. You guys totally know Square and you are already using it at all of your favorite businesses in your town or city. No fumbling, no cash, instant receipt. And there's something about a business that uses Square. It just like feels a little bit more put together. And that's the whole point of Square. It takes all the chaos of running a business, the payments, the inventory, the scheduling, online orders, and it puts it into one connected system. So whether you are selling lattes or cutting hair or selling me carrots in a park, it keeps everything in sync. So you are not running yourself into the ground. No contracts, no hidden fees, no IT team required. It all just works. So right now, listeners can get up to $200 off Square hardware when you sign up at square.com/go/goodmom. That's SQUARE.com/GO/goodmom. Because if you are running your own business and you are out in the world, the right tools really do make all of the difference. Let me know what your business is. I'd love to support your business. Can I just be honest with you guys for a second? I've been talking about mental health lately a lot on my channels in the past couple of weeks. I just went back to work full-time at Love Wellness, and between my job there as the CEO, this podcast, and being a full-time mom to Nell, my to-do list does not stop. And neither does the pressure to keep up with it, honestly. I'm genuinely a little bit worried about burnout. Like, I feel it coming. I feel myself running on fumes. So with burnout in mind, I want to talk to you guys about growth therapy. What I love about growth therapy is how much easier it makes that first step to speak to an incredible therapist that is going to support you with burnout, with whatever it is that you need to address. It is built around you. You can search for a therapist by what actually matters, your insurance, your schedule, the specialty you need, and you can book someone whose hours fit the couple of free hours that you have. Nights or weekends, virtual or in person. Grow accepts over 125 insurance plans. Sessions average $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. That's amazing. No subscriptions, you just pay per session, and you can get started in as little as 2 days. I literally love that you can just get on there and speak with somebody. The fact that you do not have to subscribe in this day and age is really it just makes it so much easier to use growth therapy. So I'm into it because of that. Whatever challenges you are facing, growth therapy is here to help. Visit growtherapy.com/goodmom today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/goodmom. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan. After the baby, mom has just forgotten. My vagina legit sealed itself. I quote, my vagina legit sealed itself. First of all, I am obsessed with you. Second of all, you're all cleared at 6 weeks is one of the greatest cons of modern medicine. Cleared for what? I would legitimately like some OBs to slide into my DMs on this. Specifically the ones who have had children. Because living through that experience and getting cleared at 6 weeks is particularly confusing to me. I also want to hear from OBs why the 6-week appointment, in the vast majority of cases, is pretty much it. And in your practice, are you doing follow-up care, or let's call it additional care, outside of the 6-week appointment? And if you're not, why are you not doing so? Is it because the science and the research isn't there? Because in my opinion, as somebody who's had a baby and who has really struggled through postpartum and had a horrific postpartum, the single 6-week visit is a fucking relic. I truly am of the opinion that it has to be cultural at this point. It's like not scientific. Like, what are we talking about? ACOG, the actual governing body, has moved off of it. They now say you should have contact within the first 3 weeks and ongoing care all the way through 12 weeks, because postpartum care is supposed to be a process. It's not like a graduation ceremony, right? Because the stakes are not small. More than half of pregnancy-related deaths happen after the baby is born, and about 40% of women never even make it to one postpartum visit. Let's go back to that. More than half of pregnancy-related deaths happen after the baby is born. And I was almost that statistic. I could have been. I had retained placenta. And frankly, I'm very unhappy with the care that I got to address that retained placenta. I was bleeding really, really heavily for a very long time. And instead of just taking it out right away, and like OBs and different RNs have DM'd me about this and gotten into my comments, and people are like horrified by how this was managed. I instead endured weeks of bleeding, many rounds of misoprostol, and then got sent to my endometriosis surgeon to take it out as how it was going to be managed for me. Oh, and then by the way, the pathology on the placenta when it came out of my body was borderline malignant. Okay? The 4th trimester is a danger zone, and I am fucking livid about it. On behalf of all of us, including dads, nobody is caring for us. The research is not there. The science is not there. And frankly, I don't know what to do about that except to talk about it all the time and make people aware of this significant care gap for women. And it's not just providing childcare, right? Because in other countries, they have like kind of nailed the childcare thing. And I think even in other countries, they have better systems in place for the actual like care of mothers themselves, but not in the US. It's a terrifying, this is a terrifying place to live if you are about to become a parent. It just is. It just is. Like, I think about like the hormonal shifts that happen to a mom postpartum. And like, I don't think in many OB appointments we're even educating moms on that. Like, do you know that when you stop breastfeeding, your hormones shift dramatically again? And you have to go through almost like another like mini postpartum experience that is similar to the postpartum drop that happens after you give birth. People say, oh, weaning was so hard. It was so emotionally challenging, because nobody is explaining to you what's happening in your body. And if you happen to be curious enough about it and go on the internet, there is some information, but there's still not a lot of information. Like, I'm like sitting at my desk with my head in my hands. I digress. Here's some actionable things that you can do after you have a baby that I have learned because I sought this care out on my own. My mom friends guided me on this path. Not a doctor. I wish that my doctor had guided me on this path. I like literally expected that I would leave the hospital with like a handbook on how to take care of myself after I had a baby. It was like one piece of paper. First, pelvic floor therapy. A pelvic floor physical therapist is a game changer. And it doesn't matter if you had a vaginal birth or if you had a C-section, because everybody's pelvic floor has had a fucking baby on it for almost 10 months when you give birth, right? Your pelvic floor is going to need work. So definitely look into pelvic floor therapy as a way to help your body recover from not necessarily giving birth, but from being pregnant for almost a year, right? The next thing that I want to bring up is your liver. Your liver is working really, really hard after you give birth, right? Your liver is responsible for processing all of these hormones, the insane amount of hormones that are in your body when you're pregnant. And then after you give birth, it's your liver. And there are ways to support the liver. Glutathione is a master antioxidant that can help support the liver in its crazy job that it has to do, processing all of these hormones. And so I would think about supporting your liver specifically. Also, your lymph. You need to be supporting your lymph. And I have been able to get a couple of lymphatic drainage massages in my postpartum journey and move the lymph. When your liver gets bogged down, your lymph is not going to work very well. And your lymphatic system is like kind of in a suppressed mode after you give birth. My therapist has taught me this because your body is just dealing with so many things. But moving your lymph is a really good way to support healing your body after you have a baby. And you can do lymphatic massage at home on yourself. Just go on your computer, look up how to do lymphatic drainage massage, and I promise that can be extremely helpful for you. Also, sorry, if you have heard Nell crying this entire episode, it's because I'm recording at home today. And yes, I have childcare taking care of my baby because I work like 4 full-time jobs and I'm doing my job right now making this podcast. But sorry if you have heard my child in the background as like the soundtrack of this episode. It's crazy. I also want you guys to self-advocate after you have a baby to have labs done and have them done more than once. And you need to be looking into your vitamin levels. And it crushes me when I see ladies make videos on the internet and be like, oh, I'm not taking my prenatal, LOL. Ma'am, oh my God, take your prenatal. Like you are growing a baby and they're taking all of the vitamins and minerals from your body and like we're putting it into their little baby bodies. You may be very deficient in something after you give birth, even if you take your prenatal. I'm iron deficient and I literally have been doing IV infusions in the past couple of weeks. And I'm starting to feel so much better because a doctor like looked at my labs and I was like, oh my God, your ferritin and iron are low. We better get you on some iron infusions and you're going to feel a lot better because I have had like a very challenging recovery and I've been so tired. And since my iron infusions, I've started to feel better. My doctor also looked at my thyroid and was like, oh, like your thyroid's a little low. Like this looks new since you've had the baby. Like, let's give you a little tiny bit of thyroid medication to take every day. Like, holy shit, you guys, I feel so much better. But all of this to say, like, basically you have a baby, they send you home and you have one doctor's appointment and just like nobody ever checks on you again. This is the reason that I started my company, right? Because you have to self-advocate so hard. You have to figure it out on your own. And when I started Love Wellness, that's the exact place I was in my life. I didn't just have a baby. It was 10 years ago, but it was a very similar experience, right? I was like sitting in this female body of mine, having vaginal infections. I was depressed. I was anxious, and nobody would listen to me. Nobody would help me. And so I had to help myself. And 10 years later, my company is one of the most well-respected in the category. We literally were the first company to put boric acid and vaginal probiotics into Target. But it's like, it falls on us, you guys. That does not mean that you should go out and you should try unproven things that you find on the internet to help your life, to help improve your situation. What I mean by that is that you have to learn how to become your best advocate. Self-advocacy is what we can do. It's the tool that we have in our toolkit when we exist in a system that should do better, but frankly, is not built for women. So that's today's episode. I'm obsessed with group chat episodes. Send me your questions, guys, because we can always get into it. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Tell Me I'm a Good Mom. See ya.